Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Grants Pass, Oregon. Today's verse is 1 Peter 2:20. For what credit is there if, when you sin and are harshly treated, you endure it with patience? But if, when you do what is right and suffer for it, you patiently endure it, this finds favor with God. Now see, this comes after last week's verse, and I have the link up here, that talks about suffering for righteousness' sake. If we are mistreated or persecuted for doing what is right, doing what is God's will, this finds favor with God. But today's verse reminds us is that it's only when we're really doing God's will, when the Spirit is leading. There are times when we might think we're doing God's will, but we're actually in sin. And in that case, if we suffer a consequence for it, well, we deserve it. And not only does it not find favor with God, it actually sullies his name. Let me give a couple of examples. I love to watch the police shows where a camera follows policemen out on their rounds. And on one particular episode, this policeman got a call for disturbing the peace. He rolls to this apartment complex where this so-called Christian is out on his front step at 11 o'clock at night reading the scripture with a very loud voice. And God said, "Let there be light." And he was like crazy stuff like that at 11 at night. And the police had to tell him, you can't do that. You are disturbing the peace here. If you really need to read out loud, go inside your house, or if you need to be outside, read silently. And this man probably thought, I'm suffering for righteousness' sake because I'm reading the Bible, and that should be a witness to my neighbors. No, you're giving a bad witness. You're saying that Christians are supposed to be annoying, right? He deserved to be silenced by the police. He deserved that for disturbing the peace. He's not suffering for righteousness' sake. Here's another example. Let's say you're late for church and you speed along and you get pulled over and get a speeding ticket. Now, you can't claim that, I'm suffering for righteousness' sake as I was headed to church. No, you're not suffering for righteousness. You were speeding. You were breaking the law. Doesn't matter that you were going to church or where you were going. You did wrong, and you're getting a consequence that you deserve. And again, not only does that not find favor with God, it sullies his name. If you've got a Christian bumper sticker and the cop rolls his eyes, oh yeah, here comes a Christian. Yeah. So let's make sure we have that in mind. Actually, that reminds us of verse 13 that we covered way back here that said, submit yourselves to governments. Yes, they may be corrupt, but we're still supposed to do that. Why? Because of verse 14 that we covered over here. Or to governors as sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. The whole idea of a government is to have law and order and to have a set of consequences, punishments for those who do wrong. And if we receive those punishments, then that's deserved. And again, we should really be putting in check that the Spirit is leading all of our actions, including something like driving this RV. I wouldn't want to drive this RV and break the law. Now, the second part of today's verse reminds us of what verse 19 had said about, yes, if we are suffering for righteousness, if the Spirit is leading us and somebody is persecuting us for really doing things right, then that finds favor in God's sight. The way we could endure it patiently is to know that God is a much defender of us than we are. So we should follow Jesus' example, who went all the way to the cross and suffered, but was as silent as a lamb and allowed it to happen. Believe me, we're never going to suffer to that extent here in America. So let's choose to love every moment, because then we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a great week.